Dealer Live is brought to you by TrueCar.
Access an exclusive audience of lower funnel car buyers through our network of over 500 affinity partners, including USAA, Sam's Club, and AAA. Close more sales in a cost-effective way. There's never been a better time to become a TrueCar certified dealer.
Okay, what's up, man?
Hey, what's going on, Mr. Villa?
Oh, I'm doing awesome. Lou, when you get a second, we cannot see that screen has a Microsoft background. All right, so we are live. It's ADL, and this is highly anticipated show, Mr. Cribbs, and it is not going to disappoint. I know there's been some changes, which we'll get to in a minute, but I'm going to tell you there's only been an upgrade in change, and I don't mean by people. I just mean we stepped the show up. We prepared for the unknown, and we are going to have an amazing show with a whole crap ton. Okay,
a crap ton. I like that. It's a great measurement, by the way.
It is. What is a crap ton? It is just a crap ton, right? I mean, what does this sound like to you? Like you, I think crap ton's one of those words.
Sounds like a ton of crap.
No, it's just like it's one of those words when you use it for measurement, you can like use your imagination.
Yeah.
It's like
pretty much fit anything.
Yeah, it's like how heavy are you? I'm a crap ton. But oh my God, he's a crap ton. And then like if I'm really like one particular size, right, and then you all of a sudden, it's like the gossip game. Right. Like by the time it gets to the person with the biggest imagination, like you know what I'm saying, it's giant. So we've got a crap ton of people coming on the show today, all at one time, for an absolutely incredible discussion on the topic that you have seen. And I don't mean companies, I don't mean product specific. I'm talking about the topics that we have been talking about that have really kind of lit a portion of Facebook up a little, and I'm excited about this. And we got some really good guests on today as well.
We have amazing guests. We have owners, GSMs, sales managers. And, the whole thing about today's show is we're really going to be getting into that relationship or that dynamic between vendor and dealer. Yeah. Which is really our entire audience. I mean, this is a bit, I want to call it a B2B show, but, it's not so much a consumer show, but it's wrapped around the inner workings of the auto business. And vendors need dealers, dealers need vendors. And it really sometimes creates a dynamic that becomes very interesting. And we've been seeing that on social media in the last few days, a buildup. And we're going to be tackling some issues in regards to that today.
Yeah, you said it. And, it's one of these things where, this show, man, the reason this is so important, this show, I think, like you said, the audience of dealers, the audience of vendors, the audience that listen to our show, it's diverse, opinionated. And so we've got a dynamic and a plethora.
Ego-driven.
It is. It's ego-driven.
Oh, yeah, we're salespeople.
Absolutely. And we've got, like you said, just an absolute plethora of talent and incredible individuals on today. And by the way, there's nobody shy on the show today. Everyone that's going to be on the show today has an opinion, and it's going to be incredible. Hey, before we get started, I've got something amazing I want to announce. So we're going to do this just for you, and we're going to give it away today. Okay, so you want to listen to this, and you're going to want to hit the share button. If you've already hit it, good news is, if you've already hit it, it applies to you as well. All right, so hear me out. Ready? I'm giving away $100 today on the show. No games, no gimmicks. I don't mean like $100 in like credit to our company. I'm giving away $100. 100. Okay, going to send you $100 check. All right, from me to you today. All right, so $100. Who wants $100?
I'll take $100.
All right, all you got to do is share the show. Share the show, and we're going to do this today. And so that you can see that we're asked often, how do you pick winners? How does this go? We don't really see you pick it. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to end the share-a-thon, right? We're going to end the share-a-thon at 4 o'clock Eastern. So 30 minutes into the show, at 4 o'clock, my marketing team, which is on the other side of our building, is going to tally the shares, write your name down on a piece of paper, drop it in a bowl, old school, right? And we're going to put that bowl right here, and at about 4:20, okay, right at the end of towards the end of the show, we're going to draw a name right here out of the bowl, and you're going to see all the shares, your name. If you shared it by 4 o'clock, your name will be in the bowl, and then you are one of how many ever shared it that will win $100. We'll announce it, and then we'll send that off to you as well, and want to give $100 away. All right, how about that?
It pays to play, brother. I love it.
Yeah.
It'll be exciting.
Cool. What do you think, man? Talk to me. So we're going to be talking about this topic that, really, it's if I had to say what this is about, it's dealer and vendor relationship. It's not something that we haven't talked about before, but we're going to look at it with a little bit of a different scope here, and we're going to look at it from a dealer's perspective, a vendor's perspective, because dealers get inundated, right? You're a dealer, you get inundated with marketing calls, and by the way, we're vendors. Right. We're not dealers here, we're vendors. And you get inundated with marketing calls, and I can tell you that I talk to dealers all the time, not just from the perspective of trying to sell them, but friends and buddies of mine, when I go to conferences or what have you, that tell me they get no shortage of 30 to 40 calls a week sometimes, still today, not counting the emails and the text messages, not counting the Facebook post or whatever, trying to get their time to show them something in the advertising realm or product realm. And so it's an industry that gets a lot of inundated with vendor call-ins. And so every vendor obviously can't be great. Every vendor is not bad. But I think all vendors have to fight through the skepticism. So you have this dynamic that goes on. And I think that's why a lot of times you find dealers, and we'll get to that in a minute. You find dealers that might have a, quote, bad taste in their mouth on something because, it's like they're exposed, to so many opportunities and they want to sell cars. And so, and I don't mean to use the word loosely, they're not a sucker, but they're a sucker for a good salesmanship. And so when somebody sounds good or kind of presents a product, they buy. And then there's a lot of factors in whether or not they're successful. So it's something I'm interested in talking to our guest about.
Yeah, and it's a valid traditional way to help dealers get more business. Vendors offer products and solutions that really do make a difference. And that's why dealers continually spend money to help subsidize things and, get more business in there. The thing about it is, Dave, is that, you mentioned there are, not all vendors are good, not all vendors are bad, that kind of thing. And I think today what we're going to hear is, that, vendors have different experiences with different dealerships and vice versa. So the point being that, they may have had a great, dealer A may have had a great experience with vendor A, but then the next dealership may not have the same experience. And we're going to probably be talking about that today as well. And what really kind of sparked this show, or at least a big part of it, was, a particular company and a particular dealership that kind of had a debate on social media and that was leading into our show. Yeah. So
we had, and I'll let you go where you're going to go. But we had some general sales managers, like you said, an owner, a GM scheduled, which we always do, and we leave our discussions really open to non-topics. I mean, I know, and, that's not because we can't think of a topic. It's just simply because we want to talk. We want to be right on the cusp of what's going on in the industry, and that changes. It's volatile. It changes from day to day and week to week. So at any given week, we want to be able to bring in maybe relevant conversation, but it's all centered around the automotive industry. And so we had guests on, and so it was, all we did is inserted a topic, I say, based on a discussion that was going on social media between a company and a dealer representative.
Yeah, because the topic is really bigger than one particular dealer or one particular company. It's something that, as we just talked about, it's something that kind of hits home with dealers and vendors, and that's why it does make for a great show topic today. So definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you this. I can't tell you how many times today. Okay, right. I've got 10 sales guys that are outside in our bullpen that are hammers. You guys were pretty transparent. You see us on Facebook Live, and we cold call dealers, and so I can't tell you how many times, that we hear skepticism from dealerships, that have been burned or have bad experiences to products that are maybe somewhere in the family or genre of what we do, although we're different. And so we have to get over that hump. And, sometimes it gets very heated. We've gotten into debates and disagreements and so forth, even though it's with another company, just on the topic of trying to get that person to listen and get through that. So I understand that. And it is something that is a dynamic, but I want to hear from a dealer's perspective as well, because maybe there's a way. I've noticed, in my salesmanship, that there's ways that I have to, if I get offended because company A, right, that I'm not even part of, did something wrong or doesn't have an answer to something, and I'm getting asked, hey, why? This is what I think about your product. And I've realized as a salesperson that I've got to dismantle that.
Yes.
I can't react, and get offended. But whatever happened to hey, I understand how you feel, right? Others have felt the same way, and they found. I mean, whatever happened to empathy, right? And so I want, and maybe that's what we're going to talk about a little today. But it's going to be a good discussion.
It will be a good discussion, and terrific.
So what do you say we go to a quick break?
Yeah, we've got our dealers on and ready. We're going to introduce them when we come back. We're going to go away for just a moment. Stay with us. You're watching Auto Dealer Live.
You're a dealership. You need to sell cars. You spend money every month to get leads, generate foot traffic, and talk to potential prospects, right? What if I told you the next 5 minutes could help you sell an extra 20 units? 20 cars have to be worth 5 minutes of your time, right? Well, here's my commitment to you. I have a new program. It's something different, something you've never seen before. I have a few slides I want to show you, and if after 5 minutes you feel this isn't for you, I won't waste one more minute of your time and I'll let you go. I'll do better than that. If I can't pique your interest within 5 minutes, I'll hang up on myself. Yes, I'm asking you to break your rules. I know you never click on ads. I know you never take phone calls. I understand you're not interested in a sales pitch and you don't want to waste your time. If you're listening or watching this between 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. Eastern, don't bother clicking on anything. Call me directly, 813-630-5888. Press 1 for sales and give me 5 minutes. If you knew there were 20 cars attached to that call, you'd make it every single day, wouldn't you? If you prefer I call you on a specific day and time, just click the link here and tell me when, so we can spend that 5 minutes together. I know I only have one shot with you. I'm not going to fumble with the opportunity to work with your store. Click the link now. Give me that 5 minutes. All right, we're back. You're watching Auto Dealer Live. I'm David Villa, and I'm here with my co-host, my friend, my colleague, my partner in crime, David Cribbs. Dave, what's up, man? Great show.
Hey, great show, man. I'm ready to kind of get it kicked off. And, as we open up, and we mentioned earlier that, this show, the topic was kind of wrapped around the fact that a spirited debate began on Facebook between a dealer and a vendor. And we did have scheduled today Kevin Burns with Hillview Motors that was going to debate with Dan Webb from Tacoby, a vendor there. And essentially what has taken place is that Kevin was unable to come on the show. He did have to withdraw due to circumstances beyond his control. Kevin expresses passionately that he would love to be here to do the debate, but there was a cease and desist order of some type between the two companies. So we're going to respect that today. But we do have Dan Webb will be on the show and contributing to the conversation. And we will read, in fairness, we will read some social media. Okay. We will read some social media comments and questions for Dan as well that he may want to answer and give his take on. But the great news is, Dave, we have a great panel of dealers that are going to weigh in on this subject as well. Not maybe specifically their debate, but more importantly about the relationship between dealer and vendors.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to bring our guest on right now. We're going to open the phone lines up for callers as well, and we'll welcome you guys to call in. We will introduce you when Lou brings you on as a caller as well. But without further ado, we have the sales manager at Liberty Bay Auto Center, Shane Wood, sales manager, Courtesy Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, Cody Mills, Brad Pascal, senior account director at Stream Companies, Mr. Terrence Campbell, internet sales manager at Lone Star Toyota of Louisville. We have Dan Webb, business development operations manager at Tacoby, Matt Lasco, vice president, general manager of Lasco Auto Group, and Matt Keenan, co-founder of Rockstar Auto Conference. I know we have a lot of guests on today, but we really wanted to open up this vast discussion on this topic. It's not about any company. It's about really the topic centered around it. So we're going to be careful to kind of make sure that it stays along those lines. But Dave, I'll throw the question line to you and let you get this thing started. And social media, keep weighing in. We're going to read your comments. And then again, if you want to call in, the number is on the screen. Lastly, make sure you share. You got until 4 o'clock, so you have 15 minutes. Yeah, 15 minutes to share the show. Everyone who shares the show, we're going to do a drawing and give away $100. All right?
Yeah, so let's go over to Matt Lasco, owner of Lasco Ford. And, Matt, obviously you kind of heard the opener, and we're talking today about relationships between vendor and dealer, and maybe more specifically when the relationship is being tested a little bit. But talk about, from your perspective as a dealer, when you have maybe a company that hasn't performed or really disappointed in some way from your perspective, is what would be the norm as far as, protecting other dealers or maybe sharing with other dealers? Do you openly share, or does that stay more contained for maybe dealer 20 groups or your counterparts? Shed a little light on what you think about that.
Well, I guess I'll preface it with two things. Number one, for vendors out there, and I'm assuming 99% of all dealers would agree. If you have to get to me on the phone by lying, we aren't going to start off right. So stop it. Just stop lying to car dealers. If you have to lie and say you're my buddy to get through my receptionist, and then I get on the phone and find out you're not, we're not going to do business. All right, so on to the rest of it. I mean, David, if someone oversells themselves, or if someone puts up a guarantee and doesn't follow through with it or something along those lines, that's something that I might share, and I might share it to protect others. If someone makes a mistake, a mail doesn't go good, a radio buy wasn't right, and that vendor steps in, contributes, does something to solve or resolve it, I'm less prone to go out and publicly, smash on somebody. But I would say that, these vendors that don't act like a partner or try to fight between a dealer, we're the customer of them, they create some of that turmoil themselves. You got to get your ego hat off and understand the dealer is your customer, Mr. Vendor.
I thank you, Matt. That was Dave Cribbs asking that. I'm going to follow up just really, really quick and just go to you as well and say, looking at that, that's actually an interesting point you bring up, because social media, and I've often thought this, man. I mean, I look at this from a dealer's perspective. There's specific companies that center, Matt, around reputation, revenue, and online reputation. That, for instance, if a dealership, has bad references online, where you can't control sometimes what a customer perceives, and they go online, you fight very hard. Or some companies go get the Better Business Bureau, have some sort of rating where somebody comments and they give you an opportunity to combat that. But there's marks online, and we try so hard. I often think sometimes social media is a great thing, but at the same time, if we're not careful, it's out there for the world to see on how we handle it, on the vendor or dealer side, and that affects us. I mean, do you ever stop and think sometimes that, you as a dealer, I don't know what you would do if one of your salespeople, for instance, got into some disagreements. How would you handle that if they did it on social media? I mean, have you had that experience?
Well, company tone. I mean, our staff understands that what we say, whether we're standing in a Lasco shirt at a restaurant or you're doing something on social media, reflects what we are as an employee or as a company. I haven't ran into any direct scenarios, but I have coached a couple people to edit something they may have posted, because in most cases, if you have a conversation with them, they understand that what they're posting isn't what they're really trying to communicate. And I think that the employer has the right to have that conversation. I don't know that you could legally force anyone to do beyond means, but it's definitely something that we're not afraid to have a conversation with our staff about.
Thank you. Yeah, I had a situation, and I'm going to be full transparent. I see Jason Grace online saying, I love it. He posted something a couple of months ago, and 3-4 months ago, and asked a question. And somebody that had an issue with me in some degree, I'm not even really sure what it's about. It wasn't a dealer; it was another vendor. Made a comment, and my ego popped up. It was on the weekend, and it kind of ticked me off a little bit. And before you know it, my whole sales team was jumped in. This Jason will know exactly what he's talking about. And Jason, he's a Christian guy. He knows I am as well, and he messaged me privately, and I'm being very transparent here, and said, "Hey, man, come on, Dave." He said, don't post that in my group, buddy. I just asked a question, and he said, man, just my piece of advice, it doesn't look good. You know what? I went back and deleted every bit of it, and I apologized to him because it wasn't right. But, we've all done it. And my ego, let me tell you something, is not immune to that, Dave. But, moving along a little bit here, I think that sometimes we believe in our product as vendors, and maybe we're passionate about it, and that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
So I'd love to hear from some of the vendors maybe too.
Yeah, I'd love to go to Matt Koenig. Matt Koenig, co-founder of Rockstar Auto Conference, and Matt, you have a heavy presence not only on social media but at these conferences, and the whole conference thing kind of ties in a little bit because that's where dealers and salespeople and vendors kind of from all over the country meet up. And, we're all rubbing elbows together. So talk about that from the standpoint of this social media, transparency that we have now. Is it good to have these conversations in social media, or should they be kept in private?
I think that question is awesome. Here's the challenge: is there's two sides to every story, and then there's the truth, right? So the problem is, a lot of times you get different perspectives. I think Matt Lasco hit it on the head. If A is a vendor, and I spent a dozen years on the dealer side before moving to the vendor side, so it gives me a little bit different perspective when I approach a dealer, because I remember getting my phone beat up every day and all that stuff. But I think Matt hit it right. I mean, if vendors just don't lie to dealers when they call, and don't lie when they rep their products, if people would just be straight when they communicate, it would eliminate the problem on the vendor side. Flip the script, though, and you know what? And I'm sure no dealers on this call today have ever done this, but as a vendor, I can tell you, I've talked to dealers that I know intimately, and they have flat lied to me in return. And I say all that because all of these situations create a lot of emotion, and the problem is we go to the keyboard instead of going to the phone and talking to people direct. My personal opinion is, if you got a problem with somebody, work it out direct. Instead of going to social media to put them on blast. In the past, 2 years ago, I would have told you the opposite. Somebody's being shady, let's light them up online. My perspective has changed because I don't think it helps fix the situation. I think it just involves a lot of people that need to shut the hell up, and they start stoking a fire that could have been put out if two human beings had a real conversation. So I love social for promoting good stuff, but I think when we got dirty laundry and issues, it's definitely not helping out there.
Yeah, and so I mean, and we all are guilty of it. So, and well said, Matt. And let's go. We're going to go to. I want to bring Dan Webb on in a minute as well. And I appreciate him agreeing still to come on. I know that he was scheduled to be in a debate a little later in the show with Kevin Burns, who could not make it. But let's go to Shane Wood and Cody Mills. You got two GSMs, at two different dealerships, and both of you guys, thank you for coming on. I know you were scheduled prior to this topic, but let me ask you this: as dealers that get kind of shifting a little bit, dealers that I'm assuming, if you're like most dealers, and Matt can amen this, and so can Terrence, you're getting probably 30 calls a week. Now with social media the way it is, you're getting LinkedIn messages. Those are the good ones, right? You're getting LinkedIn messages where someone that just connects with you, literally 5 seconds. The next thing you know, you get like a 25-page LinkedIn message from them, and they forget to say hello. But, you're getting that. You're getting a Facebook post. You're getting an email with somebody trying to get a piece of your time. Shane, I mean, how much possibly of a bad experience with a vendor do you as a dealer sometimes carry and maybe lay on, full honesty here, and maybe lay on, the vendor that calls you? If they get you on the phone, I mean, how much skepticism sometimes is coming through from maybe a past experience that you were burned on?
Well, I'll tell you what, you nailed it on you get all these LinkedIn messages, you get a lot of people trying to get to the phone. It gets to a point where you really you set up a real process of getting phone calls to your phone, and it's a real challenge. It's not that we're not looking for the new innovations or the new vendors who have something special to offer, but kind of like what Mr. Lasco was saying. Sometimes everyone promises the world and it just doesn't come to fruition. So. I think that once we've gotten to a point that we've established a need of a certain vendor, whether it's some online marketing or wherever else it might be, once we tend to give them the benefit of the doubt until it does go sideways. But I didn't get to see the conversation with Dan and the other fella. I will say, Dan and Jacoby, they're fantastic. They're amazing. That's an amazing group. But no, I think we treat it just like every other dealer does. We vet it and give them a shot, and if it's not worth the money, we just don't hire them again. I don't go online and start bad mouthing them. That's for sure.
It's good.
Yeah, let's go to Cody Mills, sales manager at Courtesy Chrysler Dodge Jeep. And, Cody, again, kind of referring to something that Matt Lasco mentioned earlier that kind of caught my attention was, when maybe something doesn't go as planned with a vendor, maybe things aren't either kicked off in the right direction or there's a little bit of a disappointment in a particular campaign. Matt mentioned what, one of the things he's paying attention to is how does that vendor rebound? How do they come in? What's the plan to maybe resuscitate that campaign? Maybe speak to that, Cody, because I'm thinking that vendors that are listening, I think that's something that they definitely should take away from Matt.
Man, thank you so much for having me on the show, David. I'm so excited, man. I want to speak on to that last thing you were speaking about. And hey, if you're a vendor, the one thing that bothers me the most is you come in and you declare your product without knowing my need. And that will make me shut you off so quick because you don't even know what I need and you're offering me a product. You don't know what I have already set up, but you're offering me a product. And so that interaction where you're just selling without asking any questions, man, kills my mood. In fact, it's just a shut-off switch. It's nothing against you or the vendor. I honestly, I've had times where I've hung up in the past on vendors because they just start selling and promoting their product without ever having to sit down and going on to your question. Huge for me when a vendor messes up anybody, whether it's a CRM, whether it's a dealer management system, whether it's a call system, whether it's a training portfolio, is they need to have somebody constantly that I can speak with because they don't know the problems that I'm having. Most of the issues that arise with any of these vendors is they don't even know I'm having an issue. And by the time I don't want to do business with them, it's too late. Mm-hmm. So a constant relationship with me in order to find out what problems I'm having is huge, David.
Yeah, well said. Thank you, Cody. And it's funny because one of the questions that came in that I had down here that came in from a poll that we did to some dealers here, it says about typical results. One of the common themes that people have requested we address in the parameters is what it means to discuss, quote, typical results. There are plenty of analytical people in this industry who want more. So let me go to Dan Webb. Dan, can you frame, results with the following factors? Dealer sizes. You heard Cody, what he said and kind of saying, hey, nothing frustrates me more than in the beginning somebody to kind of come in and just maybe one size fit all. But dealer sizes, franchise, ratio of incoming leads, and blah, blah, blah. I just had a situation like this happen on a TO today with one of my veteran sales guys where 45-minute demo. You spend 45 minutes on the phone with a decision maker. Come on. You dealers that are on the phone, it's done, or you wouldn't have spent 45 minutes on the phone. You're either asleep or you're in. And so, he got to get to the end of it and he goes, hey, I think this sounds like it's a used car program. I like it, but I really need to move new cars. And I apologize. I said, let me tell you. And I said, I'm not throwing my guy under the bus. But I said I do sales training as well, and I said I need to do a little bit of a better job, Dan. I said the first thing I would have said when I got on the phone with you is I'd interview you and find out your needs. I said, of course our program moves new cars. Matter of fact, half the dealers we work with only want to move new cars with our program. So anyway, my point is that we could have lost that deal because of something very simple. Dan, why don't you address that and maybe how you would approach that?
What I typically do, guys, is I'm on the phone with any dealer from 30 minutes to about 2 hours, just to give you guys an example. The way I open on up is I'm asking them how they are generating leads, what are their lead sources, how many units they're selling new and used, are they in special finance, or what needs are they looking for. I'm trying to solve a problem with if we are the solution for them and if we can be a possible solution. I believe we can be, but I want to see where we can fit in and how we can fit in, and then have those conversations, and then showcase our product, then showcase the needs and see if this could be a perfect fit for the dealer or how we're going to train it and what's the plan of attack and how we can help that GM or dealer principal or auto group and say, hey, we're an independent dealer, and say, hey, guys, this is how we can help you. This is how I can help your sales team. This is what we can do. You know what? Let me show you how I do it. Let me show you how we roll up our sleeves and go into the dealership and send Jason, our CEO, on a plane on out to train your dealer. Like, to not just sit there in the office and talk with you guys and joke and have coffee and donuts, to actually sit in there with your grinders, with your hammers, and show them how to do it. No different from, I would expect, any experienced vendor, that wants a long-standing relationship with the general manager or dealership or their sales team, and that's what we're looking for. We're looking for solidified dealers to say, hey, we have a possible solution. Let's find out if it's a fit.
Yeah, thank you,
and
Dan.
And that's typically what I do. Now, we don't cold call those dealers, guys. We're not hitting people up on LinkedIn. I don't think I've ever hit any dealer that's on this show or anyone in the industry up on LinkedIn. Very rarely would I ever do it, unless they've reached out to me about a specific problem. I typically will only deal with the people that are reaching out to me to say, hey, maybe you guys can help me. I heard about you guys. I heard good things, just like Shane said.
Yep,
we're advocates. We actually help dealers consistently with continued follow-up, and that's really what you need, daily accountability, and that's what we do on a daily basis. We hold your hand and say, until you're running away from us, and we don't need to hold your hand.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dan. Those are great points, and we're gonna take just a moment and go to a caller. We have a caller on the line. Caller, can you hear me? This is Dave Cribbs with Auto Dealer Live.
Hey.
How are you doing? Yes, who's on the line?
Chris Bennett.
Chris
Hey,
Bennett.
Chris.
How are you, sir?
Good. You got a great panel today. I got to say, Mr. Lasco and Mr. Koenig touched on some really good points. And I just want to say, the devil's always in the details, right? So everybody's looking for that next big, best superpower thing that's going to come along and change the world and go beyond the next. And, what we do as a company, I spent 10 years in automotive, up to GM, Toyota dealership. And I got hit all the time. Never value first. It was always, this is gonna work. This is a one-size-fits-all situation. They never said one-size-fits-all. But, whether it's dealership in New Jersey or dealership in California, it was going to work, right? So there's so many problems that go on the vendor side. And like Mr. Lasco said, these empty promises before they even know what you actually do is so red flag, right? So what we do is we go in and we discover. We don't take people out for drinks. We don't go out golfing or anything like that. We spend a day auditing each and every business. And we're not just in automotive. We're in all different types of businesses. And automotive is a very unique sector. I can tell you that. It continues to go on. But what I preach to dealers all the time is go check vendors' social pages. Go check how they react. Go check how they're running their business when they're open to, doing sort of postings and different things, because that's going to tell you a lot of information on how they're actually running their company, right?
All right.
So, it seems there's a lot of dealers it seems there's a lot of vendors that are always on the defense instead of being on the offense. And I can tell you, here's a prime example, and this was like perfect timing for you guys. Thank you for letting me come on and explain this. I have a dealer that last night got 99 targeted leads in 10 days. I had to put them on hold because they were drowning in their own success. They can't handle it.
Right.
Now I could let their ad spend go, and they could get 200 leads.
Yeah.
But they're going to bypass so many deals, and it's absolutely ridiculous if you're a vendor out there that is operating on any type of level like that,
right,
that you really don't care. I mean, if the way that I look at it, whether it's a dealership, whether it's a real estate company, whether it's mortgage, whatever it is,
right,
when you take somebody's money, if it's $1 or $10,000 or $40,000, if you take their money, you are a partner with them, and you're responsible for that money.
Thank you,
and
Chris.
You have to show them extreme results.
Yeah.
I mean, extreme data based upon what you're actually doing for them.
Well, I appreciate
and I cannot preach to dealers enough.
Well, I appreciate it, man. Hey, thank you for your comments. I got to get to the guest here. Thank you for the comment on that, because I think it's important, and I know that you are on both sides, and I'm not meaning to cut you off, but I want to get to a couple of the other guests here and make sure they get a chance to weigh in. And thank you for calling in with that. I want to jump to Terrence Campbell for a second. We're going to get to Brad in a minute as well. We got a big panel today. Internet sales manager, Lone Star Toyota. Terrence, you've heard this, right? You've heard what we've been talking about, and there's a lot. I mean, we're talking about a lot of things here, a lot of dynamics. But as an internet sales manager, something that came to my mind: how important is it that when this interview process, right, or when a company reaches out to a dealership, how important is it to know that they have that they have somebody like you that's going to be able to facilitate, the leads and what's going on? Because, we're talking a lot about, because the deal is, it's not just about, it's easy to sell a dealer once, right? I mean, it's really easy. I think every dealer on the panel would agree. It's easy to sell a dealer once because you're, look, a good salesperson with a product that sounds halfway decent. But I mean, what about retention? What about, referrals? Because I'm going to tell you, as a business owner, nothing frustrates me more than than to do something with somebody one time. I want retention and referral. So having someone like you, Terrence, somebody that's my GM bought it, but I mean, man, I'm the guy that's gonna be making sure this thing works. Talk about it from your perspective. Terrence, you there? Okay, so we'll move to Brad Pascal. Brad, you've been on both sides, and maybe we'll get Terrence in a second here. I'm not sure if we lost him, Lou. Brad, we'll put that same question to you. I know you're on the vendor side, but you were recently on the dealer side. Where are we missing it here, and won't you weigh in on this?
Well, I think the biggest miss that on the vendor side that we have to realize is these guys are getting 40, 60 calls a week. So you have to be different, like the kid that called in was saying about the social media profiles. Just in the last 30 seconds, if you pull up Mr. Lasco's, you can already see that he's into motocross, and he's into wake surfing, and he's into CrossFit. Maybe send him some motocross tickets and say, hey, I noticed you were into motocross. Really like to talk to you about that. You can't ask for a commitment from someone greater than the relationship you built with somebody. So that's the biggest thing that's happening in the vendor side, is that you have to start building that relationship before you can ask for a commitment. And then when you start that building rapport, then you can uncover what needs they have and move into it that way. I mean, that's the way that Dan Webb does it. I was in the dealership. Dan and I had a great relationship. That's the way that Matt does it. I've done business with Matt also. So that's the biggest thing, is that you have to start building those relationships and not reaching out on LinkedIn and not doing those kind of things that are just overwhelming. They don't really have time for that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So that's the people that caught my attention, because it shows you're different. It shows heart. It shows that you really want to help people. And then continuing that communication. If you always give 51% of a relationship, you're never going to have anybody cancel on you.
Matt, first of all, Matt Lasco, it sounds like Brad's a pretty smart guy trying to warm up to you on your likes there, man. He was singing your song, saying, motocross. You got Matt interested in listening to you. But Matt, let me ask you this, man. I mean, I know that Burns is not on the show, so I don't want to speak for him. I've never talked to him actually, but a dealer like him, you're a dealer. I mean. Maybe where does a dealer, if a dealer does share something, if a dealer does put out, their concerns on this? I mean, I think you said it perfectly. And if somebody just messes up or does something wrong, you're not gonna say anything. But you got the ability where you're getting calls from your 20 group, or you're in an idea session. Where do you draw the line? I mean, how do you handle that when a dealer reaches out to you and asks you how something works? I mean, I know with us, for even references you give us, you always, and I love this about you, I don't look at this as a negative. You're always like, look, this is what you got to do to make it work. Because if you don't do this, this, and this, it's not going to work for you. And I love that about you.
Well, I'm big on it. I definitely don't want to tag my name to something without believing in it. So hence the reason when I give a reference to you, I tell them what I do with your company so they know how it works for me. I guess, major thing to remember as a dealer is, everybody evolves over their career, right? I heard Matt Koenig, you and I probably started resourcing ourselves 5 years ago at the same way. I would have been like him and maybe blown up on someone on social media. What do I gain as a dealer if I blow up on someone on social media? Really not much. Now, if there's someone out there tarnishing our industry, that's a different story. We all want to speak up and tell each other as dealers. I'll give you my favorite line if you're a dealer, and I learned this from my father, right? It's very simple, and I don't care if it's for a reference on an employee or on a vendor. If I'm not comfortable and I wouldn't either reuse the vendor or rehire the employee, I would tell you to ask me if I would rehire them again. And it's simple. I can reply no. And I would think that if anybody says, would you rehire that company again, and I say no, then that's enough answer. You know, and you don't have to tell them the story, just tell them the facts.
That's a good point. That's actually a really good point. I didn't know that. I'm gonna start using that for employees. Right. Be like, I just avoid the call. No, I'm just kidding. No, but I didn't. I mean, that's a great point. Other than that, I guess a reference wouldn't be worth its salt. It makes sense.
Absolutely. So, I want to go back to Shane Wood real quick, because you mentioned earlier, Shane, that, kind of a beef that you have with vendors is, basically them offering you a product or solutions without really understanding your needs, sitting down and figuring that out. But I know vendors out there are thinking, well, hey, when I reach out to a dealer, they're so busy. I have to do almost anything just to even get an opportunity to talk with them. So maybe share some tips on how you would be more responsive, because I think if you ask most salespeople, if they knew that they were given the opportunity to actually sit down and address the dealer's needs without the fear of, I'm going to get blown out in 5 seconds. So, and I know as dealers, we size things up pretty quickly. But Shane, give some tips to vendors when it comes to maybe getting that time with you to figure out your needs.
Shane Wood still on?
Okay, Shane may not.
And by the way, just in case you guys are wondering, Terrence Campbell jumped off. He had to take a TO, and so.
We'll go to Cody would be a good one to answer that as well. Cody, are you available? Did you hear that question?
So the question is,
some advice you would give on how.
So number one, I always, and I was a vendor one time. I was an account executive with Ford Motor Company. They were doing a new business, and one easy way for me to get in is I need to schedule an interview. The best time for me to really listen to you and set aside is not that right now when I'm doing something. It's really important for you to schedule an interview, whether it's a morning meeting or whether if it's something that I'm even somewhat interested in. Schedule an interview with me, whether it's in the morning, schedule an interview in the afternoon, at what time that I have available. Ask me some qualifying questions. One of the best things is saying, hey, look, this might not be a good fit for either of us. It's a pessimistic question that leaves me open to say, hey, look, maybe this is good for me. Because this, say we're all salespeople. We'll talk ourselves into anything. I go into Best Buy, I'll talk myself into, you don't have to say anything. I'll talk myself into something. But the moment that salesman starts giving a pitch, I start getting negative real quick. So, I would say just set up an interview time. Hey, look, can I meet with you? Can we speak on the phone at 8:30? And I just want to learn a little bit more about what you do and see if we're a good fit for one another. That has always helped me. And I've set up a few different vendors that way that have responded that way.
That's good. Matt Koenig, let me ask, and you, Dan Webb can answer this as well. I mean, if you could ask a dealer, you got dealers listening on the panel right now and dealers listening. I mean, this might be a good question. If you can ask a dealer, Matt, a question. Ask Matt Lasco a question, something that maybe a vendor would want to know, from a dealer. I mean, a legitimate question. Yeah. What would it be? I mean, I'm putting you on the spot a little bit, but I mean, what's a question that a vendor would really like to know about how a dealer really thinks?
Ooh, man, I would love to tell you that I actually have the right question. I think it depends on the vendor and what they sell. But I think one question I'll just ask, and I'd love Matt Lasco. I'd love to get your answer on this, because I've had the privilege of coming in and doing a sales meeting in a store and connecting with some of the guys, and it was a blast. But if a vendor wanted to get a meeting with you, Matt, and they had a product that they truly believe would help, what do you say is the best path to approach a busy dealer so that they don't just come off like every other jerk who's trying to sling their crap product at you? What's the way that you prefer to be approached, Matt Lasco? A busy guy like you, successful store, the vendor says, boom, I've got something that I think you're going to love. What's the best way to approach you about it?
Okay. So I actually jotted a note or two down on this because I felt like, I'll save the dealers and the vendors some help here just to give some insight. But Number one, I say, have proper timing. If you're not a car person, talk to a car person and say, when shouldn't I call a dealer or a general manager? I habitually get a phone call from some vendor on the second to the last day of the month, or at 10 a.m. on the first day of the month when I'm knee deep in it, and it makes no sense. So if you're going to do something outbound to me, do that with a text or an email on that day. Don't call my phone. I don't mind if someone sends me leaves me a voice message and follows up with an email. But give me an email about your product. Don't just say, can I talk to you, or I left a voicemail. Listen, I can help pre-screen you too. Maybe you have a great contact and I might want to talk to you. But the vagueness really drives us crazy. So I guess, it's the same thing that our customers all tell the car dealers. We want transparency. I think that you need to be more transparent with the dealer. Tell them, hey, I have a great product. I have a real live dealer name I can give you for a reference. And I'd like you to look a little bit at the product and then let me tell you more about it. And we probably all would listen a whole lot better.
That's good.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, I'll go to Brad on this because listening to Matt just now, I couldn't help but think about he compared to what the consumer is looking for, transparency, and it made me think about the reason that we have the vagueness as vendors or salespeople in general is because we think the email isn't going to sell itself, or it isn't going to help us. We want to we want that moment to face, but maybe Matt has something here when he talks about the transparency, and maybe our process is evolving. Why don't you comment on that, Brad?
Yeah, I think it is evolving. I think there's so many different ways that you can, start to build a relationship with that. There's a lot of groups on Facebook. I know Auto Dealer Lab has a group. I jump in those groups and answer questions and don't even pitch my product a lot of times just to help out. So that's the way you can look for dealers to, answer questions about SEO or answer questions about, different things at work or different ideas. I mean, those are some ways that I use to do that. And then, being mindful of, hey, it's July 4th, it was this month, so incentives didn't drop till the 9th. So they're slammed the 1st through the 9th. So the 1st through the 9th, don't really reach out to them and don't try to overload them or anything like that. So I think Matt's spot on. I think the things that you can do that are different, that can show that you care, and it shows that you've done a little bit of research on their business and done a little bit of research on who the decision maker is, and that you put the time in that, then that shows that you're going to do the same thing when you're handling their account. You're going to do the research. You're going to put the work in. You're going to put the hard work in for the dealers, and they see that because it's a little bit different than what most people do. And it doesn't take any skills to reach out on LinkedIn, It takes some skills to go, find out about their company and see what vendors they use for different things and where there might be an opening to where you can solve a problem for them. Because basically all we are as vendors should be problem solvers. Yeah, we shouldn't be, hey, we need to tack this on because you have 5 other things. It's like, okay, let me show you how I can help you solve this problem so that I can take away this boundary between you and your customer.
Yeah,
that's the mentality that you have to have.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you, Brad.
Thank you, Brad. So I got a question for you, Dave.
Okay.
Just real quick, because we're talking about vendors and getting those calls and selling and stuff like that, and you have your own unique set of vendors as a business owner that are constantly reaching out to you as well. They got to bust through that wall just like you do, right?
Yeah.
So so how much weight do we give the creativity aspect? I believe it was Brad earlier that mentioned the finding out and getting the motocross tickets and things like that. But do you see that as hokey? I mean, if I send you something or approach you in some different way, or does the creativity get your attention?
It gets my attention. Honestly, I thought you were going to go somewhere else until you brought up the creativity. I was going to answer that they just don't get through. Like with somebody like me, I'm like Matt a lot. Like I'm going to tell you, if you don't have my cell phone, you will not get, unless every person in my company, about 4 or 5 people that are between my assistant and my second assistant and my third, people that are between me,
right,
unless they all drop dead at one time,
right,
I wouldn't answer the phone. Like, in other words, I'm just not going to get on that phone.
But they can kind of get to you through social media, which is another kind of interesting thing.
Well, no, they think they're talking. I mean, I got a social Taria. They're talking to Taria, but yes, they can. I'm talking about that. So, but creativity is the key. For instance, stopping by if you're here, or had a guy send me like a cool football, like a picture type canvas deal, and dropped it off and said, you're hard. And I met with him. Things like that, really cool out of the box things. So absolutely. Creativity. And then I think that just name drop, really knowing somebody, being connected, things like that. But I think at that point, then again, they're maybe getting your cell phone and kind of working that angle. So it's very difficult though, and I don't blame decision makers. The busier you are, the harder you are to get a hold of, and the less time you have, and you don't want to be wasted. If Matt Lasco spent every day, if he listened to every vendor that called him and gave them adequate time, his full-time job would not be running a dealership. It would be listening to vendors for a living.
Right.
And that he just doesn't have the time to do that. We do have Terry Campbell on. I want to bring him into the conversation. Terry, I know you had to take a TO. I do want to give you the opportunity to kind of weigh in on any part of the conversation that you were able to hear in the beginning. So Terry, bow tie. Somebody said we need bow tie. So man, hey, tell us what you can bring to this conversation, and maybe just drop in. We're running out of time here, but I want to give you some time to kind of just bring comment in that you would have, and then we'll go to Dan Webb as well. Then we'll give everybody a closing remark. Terry?
Yeah, of all the names that you should call me, you choose the one that I like the least, Terry.
Man. I was just told in my ear that you like to be called Terry. I'm sorry, man. I apologize.
No, absolutely. No worries. But no, I don't have a whole lot to add to the vendor, dealership relationship conversation, because my experience with vendors was limited to, lead source vendors, and it was all the same, subpar or subprime lead sources, and conversations would always go the same. And I just let them know that, because my GM just wasn't interested. So I'd be all of them as anything like this. And but I really don't have a whole lot to add to this conversation. I thought it was going to be, something along social media.
Well, no, that's
which is where I.
Yeah. And so we talked about social media. I think that you had to jump off, but why don't you weigh in then on social media and just maybe give your take on the good, the bad, the ugly of what you see, what's appropriate on social media, and then why don't you give that comment, and then we'll go to the closing remarks to everybody.
Well, I think I have been 3 years, but one of the things that has been consistent everywhere is always keep closing. So if you're on social media, you should be mindful of what you're posting, and just wondering, keeping in mind, are you posting something that could potentially cost you some business in the future. Mm-hmm. So I think if you just have that in the back of your mind, you post whatever you want to post. Just if you're posting with the mindset that I'm going to post something, and this wouldn't cost a business, whether it be a customer or future employment or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. Dave, as we give everybody, I'm going to let everybody give a closing remarks and go down. And thank you very much. And do you prefer to be called Terrence?
Terrence Bowtie.
Terrence Bowtie. Okay. And I apologize, man. He gave me in the ear and said Terry. But so let's do this, and then I think Dave, as we get closing remarks here from everybody, that's a great point, and I know we've kind of tiptoed around that, but that's really a great point when it comes to social media. Kind of leaving that thought with this, that we work so hard as salespeople. We've been talking about how hard it is to get a dealer on the phone. Mm-hmm. Well, so I mean, my thing is, I'm very cognizant of putting. I post a lot. We post a lot, but we post all positive, all edifying. Everything's going to be like transparent what we're doing, so dealers can be a fly on the wall and see us. But I mean, if I post something what if that sets me back, and all of a sudden my sales guys have got to do 3 demos, equivalent of 3 demos with GMs to make up for what I lost on one post, and I never know maybe if that's the case. And so that's a really good point. And I don't know, is Shane Wood back on? All right, so let's go to Cody Mills. Cody, man, we're going to go down the line and give everybody, and we'll give you a little extra time, Dan Webb, when we get to you, and we'll let you just close it out, make the last comment. But Cody Mills, give us your closing remark, courtesy Chrysler Dodge Jeep.
Hey guys, I just want to let you guys know if they're between a vendor and a relationship. I just want to thank you guys for letting me on. Huge important to build that relationship. I love what he was talking about, being creative online and figuring out a way to reach me past, because it does get old, right? The cold calls get old, and when it's repetitive, and then sometimes the social emails get old. But just being creative and using other outlets that maybe I don't have a negative vibe for, I just think that's an awesome point. Thanks for letting me be on. You can watch the Daily Dose for all your sales motivation and hope. I'm excited to be on again and be good, man. That's all I got.
Well, and you did a great job, Cody. We definitely have you back on again, man. And we'll get with you, and maybe we'll pick out some topics that you want to talk about as well. Thanks for coming on, my friend.
All right, thank you, brother.
Yeah, thank you. And let's go to Brad Pascal, Senior Account Director at Stream Companies, for closing comment.
All right, Brad jumped.
Brad.
All right, Brad jumped.
Brad had to go, so we'll go to Matt Koenig.
What's up? First, thank you guys so much for letting me be on the show. I really appreciate the invitation, and I really love the dialogue that everybody's had today. It's been great stuff. I just want to say, in closing remarks, look, social media is a powerful tool. I think it's a great way for people to build solid relationships and really get to know one another. But the thing is, I want to encourage everybody to keep it positive. And I say this learning from the mistakes that I've made over the past few years. Keep it positive, share the love online, be an encourager to people. And if there are people that you know just aren't good folks that you don't want to connect with, then just don't engage. Just avoid them like they got a sickness. And to follow suit with my man ZV and tagging on Jason Grace's comment about people loving free stuff, I'm popping something in the comments. Tomorrow's Free Book Friday. I'm so stoked, self-promoting plug, that my book was #1 on Amazon self-help bestsellers. It just debuted Monday and hit #1. I want to keep it there. So tomorrow you can download it free. The link is in the comments, baby.
Good job, Matt. Congratulations, brother. All right, let's go to Dan Webb. We'll let you bring up the final comment, because we'll give you some more time there, because you were scheduled for the debate. And then let's go to Matt Lasco. Matt, man, give us your closing remarks. Thanks for coming on.
Well, thanks for having me, David. It's nice just to share the voice of a dealer sometimes, whether it's a vendor out there, just to make our lives easier. I would just stress that if you're a vendor listening, listen to the dealers, slow down, build the relationship. If you're selling a product, and if you're a good dealer, we all want something that's trackable. Give us some actual results, a real live reference. Show us how many, whatever we're getting, you're selling me a lead, an up, a sale, a profit opportunity. Show me something that's real. Don't just talk through a phone. But everybody have a great month-end close and see what you can make happen.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Matt.
All right. Let's go to Dan Webb. Dan, man, again, thanks for this. We were all looking forward to the discussion between you and Kevin. I know it didn't work out, but it was definitely something I know that you were prepared for. And so, why don't we let you just close out, man? You've heard the whole conversation. You've heard it all. I know you haven't had a chance to say too much, but the floor is yours, my friend. Take a couple minutes.
Sure. Thanks again, guys. Great panelists. I really love what Bowtie's doing, by the way, on social media. A lot of salesmen should take note for how he's reaching a lot of people. I think if he gets a little bit of guidance and support from his team there at the dealership, I think he's going to take this to the next level. I've seen a lot of guys really blow up from social media, and now they have thousands and thousands of followers. Really love seeing that. I want to talk just about having that relationship again and about being that problem solver. And getting through, instead of cold calling. I cold called for 10 years, before I really even made a name for myself on Facebook. And joined some former companies that really allowed me to flourish and become an understudy of them. I think I called IPD and your team there, David. I don't know. They probably told you. Mike, was it Ogama for about 2 years straight. I called them, I think, every single day trying to get through to you. But guys, it's all about building that relationship. If they're not if a dealer's not reaching out to your business, all right, for a specific need, All right, all those people that have reached out for a number of years, they've looked for a solution. Whether you sold them or not, those are leads. You don't need to cold call dealers. Just mind your database, okay? These dealers are looking for a potential solution, and they look to you at one point for that solution. Whether your product's evolved, whether it's gotten better, whether you've learned from your mistakes, as we have, there's no reason why you can't sit there and show a dealer real tangible evidence about how they can be successful and work with them on a daily basis. Find your account manager that can work with that dealer, regardless of the cost. Figure it out. All right, dealers want to make money. They want to sell cars, and that's all this is about. Auto Dealer Live, without automobiles, there's nothing. We're just sitting here talking to each other.
Yeah.
So it's all about closing deals. Everybody wants to make money. We all want to get rich. We all do. Okay, no matter how much we argue with each other. So let's just find a way to make it happen.
Hey, I don't think I could disagree with anything other than his last name was Okendo. Yes, he did tell me that you were calling, but Michael Okendo here, man. So, okay. Well, thank you very much, Dan, for coming on as well. Dave, what a great show. You said we had a
great
call.
show, great panel. We do have someone on the line. Is it Andrew Myers?
Andrew Myers.
Andrew.
We're going to announce, by the way. Stay tuned, guys. We're going to tell you who won the $100. We're giving away $100 in cash, and your name is right here.
Awesome.
We're giving it to whoever we pull out of this bowl. So
real quick, we'll go to Andrew. Andrew, did you have a question or comment about the show?
No, man, you guys call me. No, yeah. I called in like 20 minutes ago when somebody was asking about what the right approach is, and I think Dan just covered a lot of it in what he just said. But to back up, Brad was talking about you have to be a problem solver, and earlier Dan gave us his rundown of how he starts a conversation with a dealer. And it's him asking, just like you would on the floor, man, how many miles do you drive back and forth to work? How many cars do you sell? What's your focus this month, new or used? We're just begging for a problem to solve, right? Mm-hmm. So I think it's important because I get pitched all the time as well by vendors, and I see the good and the bad. And for me, the good ones are the ones where I feel like I'm getting my pitch from them, not their pitch. So that would be my advice is qualify your customers. Whether you're on the lot, asking people what they like to drive, what their last colored car was. Staffed events taught me that. And when you go to Desk a Deal, if you didn't know that person's cousin's name, what their last car was, it was just part of doing your job. And it's clear Dan understands that. That's why his business does as well as it does, is when his customers are talking to him, they get the feeling that what he's saying to them is for them. It's not just what Dan says all day long on the phone.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Great points,
Thank you,
Andrew.
Andrew.
Thanks so much for calling in.
All right. We thank Shane Wood, Cody Mills, Brad Pascal, Terrence Bowtie Campbell, Dan Webb, Matt Lasco, Matt Koenig. Thank you so much. And thank you guys to those who called in. And thank you, Dave Cribbs. Man.
Yeah.
What an
absolutely.
awesome show.
Yeah, it was fun.
The only thing I feel bad we couldn't get to some of the guests more than a couple of times, and but I think we tackled a lot of issues and
I feel a little distracted though right now because I feel like I'm looking at the jar full of cookies.
I wish they were cookies.
But,
I'm not eating cookies right
but
now.
hey, someone's about to win $100. And for those of you, for everyone who shared the show,
tell them what happened. Yeah, tell them
thank you.
how they did it, how we did this.
Thank you so much. What we did essentially was we gave a cutoff time. I believe it was 4 o'clock. And if you shared the show prior to 4 o'clock, your name's in the hat or in the bowl.
You want to give me a drum roll?
I'm not very good at drum rolls. Oh, Lou, our producer.
Come on, man.
And the winner is
Rachel G. B. Perry. Rachel G. Beebe Perry.
Rachel Beebe Perry.
You are the winner. Did I say that right? Rachel G. B-E-E-B-E hyphen Perry.
You're $100 richer.
$100. You want $100 coming your way. You want to see who would have been second?
No, that's a great idea, Dave.
Lauren Lindsay, you would have won.
You got 0.
I'm just saying you would have.
Awesome.
Thank you, guys. We'll see you next week.
Yeah.
You got 0.
Congratulations.
You are.
This is Gary.
Hey Gary, how you doing today?
All right.
Welcome aboard. I know you're. How long you been there at that location with Hyundai? A couple of months now.
About 3 weeks now, man.
About Not info. Okay, well, congratulations. You know, I'll leverage with you for a couple of minutes. I'm not a flashy salesman. I don't have any catchy lines or anything. You know, so leverage with me. Give me a couple of minutes. Let me just explain to you my program, what I do for my other Hyundai guys. And if you don't see the value in the first minute or two, if you don't hear a couple of $1,000 coming out of what I'm saying, you know, hey, I'll cut loose. I'll call someone else. Fair enough?
Okay, hurry up, because I got a few things in front of me.
All right, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna give you something to look at while I explain it to you. So type in ipddemo.com. That way you can look at some slides while I talk to you about it.
If they were going to get any special, I guess I would need to grab David, my CEO, and ask him. But you talked to him yesterday, man. He's. Let me see if I can grab him. I don't know. He's in our, you know, he's in the accounting office right now, and that's where all the money goes. And so I'm not sure if I can pull him out of there just yet or right now. Could you hold on for one?
Good, man. I like you. I like you more now. He deserves to be beat up every once. He was in the car business for a decade, so maybe he's getting a little taste of his own medicine. And Kevin actually has some experience with our training division, so he knows how to kind of set that up and get you connected to our training manager here. But we'll set you guys up and we'll make sure we take care of them.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Come on, Billy. How's it feel?
That's it.
Put the hat on. Put the hat on. How's it feel, Billy?
Oh, it feels amazing.